Hello, friends. Just a short video that I'm going to put in front of a lot of our current deep dive videos that we're doing on Now is the Terminator. I just wanted to give a shout out. If people aren't aware, Thomas Tenney, who did the art on a lot of the issues of uh, Now's Terminator series and was the artist on Marvel's Force Works for the first handful of issues, is having health issues. Um, and he's also having money issues. And he created a GoFundMe. And I guess the goal is 20,000, and he's already at like 13, $14,000. But I'm going to put a link in the description down below. If you feel the need to help him out, if you've read any of his work, he's done many other things other than Terminator and Force Works. He's been the artist on a bunch of indie books. Um, but again, I just wanted to make a quick little shout out uh, to make you aware that yet another artist that we've all seen his art, we've all read the comics that he's drawn, is going through a hardship. So please look in the description for the link to his GoFundMe. If you can donate, that would be excellent. That would be awesome to help Thomas Tenney out. Thank you again, and we will continue with the deep dive. Hello, everyone out there in comic book land. Welcome to a video that is not a haul video, for the first time in a while. I know I've been doing a ton of haul videos, but now we're back on track as we examine some of the best indie comics that you've never read. And we're going to do a deep dive for the next 17 weeks. We're going to dive issue by issue into Now Comics 1988 book, The Terminator, taken from the 1984 movie, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, who was that? Michael Biehn. Um, love this cover. This is Mitch O'Connell, and I love the Mitch O'Connell cover. And I guess we'll just get right into it. I'm Mark Stanislavski. I'm also Good Ideas Comics, and I not only read comics and collect them and uh, digest them. Uh, I also make comics. Um, so if you're interested, you can a couple of videos on my channel that you can go to and you can check out the stuff. I think that like the very first video I put up, I went through some of my books, or you can just go to the website, goodideascomics.com, go to the store, you'll see everything there. I'm actively trying to put more stuff in terms of posts and info on the website, and adding also some other stuff for sale on the website as well. Um, but enough of that. Let's get into the book, right? I will say again, Mitch O'Connell, great cover. This issue was written by Fred Schiller. Um, I was surprised when I says, "Well, who is this Fred Schiller guy?" I don't know if I've ever heard of him, and went and looked up and saw that he had written some Marvel comic books. And there's one in particular that I think a lot of people will know, old time comic readers will really know, and it's this one, Amazing Spider-Man Annual 20, featuring the Iron Man of 2020. This is a great story. If you've never read this annual, you should go out right now and grab it, buy it. Yeah, it's probably gonna cost you a little bit, but This came out. When did this come out? This came out. Oh, well, this came out in 1986. How about that? So this annual actually came out uh, before the Terminator series. Interesting. I did not know that. He didn't. I will say that he didn't really write the story. The story that was written, the story in here is based on Fred Schiller's original story, but it was actually written by another gentleman, Ken McDaniel, I believe. Ken McDonald. I'm sorry, Ken McDonald. So there was an original story by Fred Schiller. Ken McDonald took that story, broke it down into pages. You know, Marvel said, "Okay, we'll publish this," and I'm glad they did because it was a great book. It does have uh, Terminator time travel vibes. But it's a really good story, and you should check it out and buy it immediately. Art by Tony Akins. You'll know Tony Akins. He's drawn and inked many a book with. He's half of the Aiken and Garvey team. They inked a ton of issues of ROM. They did all kinds of stuff for Marvel and DC. I believe Akins and Garvey. I don't know if they did the Legion. I don't know if they had a stint on the Legion for DC. But yeah, Jim Brosman was the inker. But anyway, you know, we open up, and this is an action-packed first issue. It did its job. It set stuff up, but it also really brought home the action, and you know, I was happy. So you know, this lady and her baby are being chased by a Terminator, you know, through the mall, and she runs into this group of freedom fighters, right, in a mall, and they actually came up with an ingenious way of destroying this Terminator, and they get like these two heavy, I don't know what they are, pieces of metal that are flat, and they just squash the Terminator in between them. They let him go from a height, and once the Terminator enters that kill zone, and they just basically squash him. Um, and that makes sense, right? I mean, what we saw from the Terminator movie. Now, again, this series came out in 1988. Terminator 2 hasn't come out yet in the theaters. Terminator 2 is still 3 years away from coming out in the theaters. So all you know is what we saw in the Terminator. And what we saw was that Terminators are kind of difficult to kill, right? Or destroy. They're not really living, so you can't really kill them. You destroy them. But yeah, you would think in the future, and that's where this takes place, 2031, they would come up with ways to destroy Terminators in a more efficient manner. But these freedom fighters, you know, they save the old lady and her baby, and she's questioned, she's thankful, and then this person recognizes, oh, something's wrong. She turns out to be a Terminator herself. And the weird thing is that her baby is also a Terminator. And I kind of chuckled at that, and I thought it was kind of ridiculous, but then I was like, well, you know, it does make sense, right? If you're a computer in the future, you know, Skynet, and you want to infiltrate humans to kill them and destroy them, then you know, why not do an unassuming figure like a mother and her child? So you know, and the kid gets away. The kid gets away. Kind of weird. Um, and I chuckled, but it's It makes sense. Okay, it makes sense. And then we move on. This is kind of a weird interlude here, because you say, meanwhile, and you see these people. They're in a cloaked ship, spaceship, I guess, and they're collecting plankton from the ocean. And it's weird, you find out who they are a little bit later on, but it's just like a weird interlude. And I found myself like, what is this? I was kind of confused. I'm not really sure what's going on here, but anyway, they run into a Terminator human firefight, and we pick up the firefight here. You see the Terminator with the little baby on him. And you see this guy Conrad. He's in the spaceship, and he looks to be like a robot or something, right? So you don't really know what's going on there. But through a series of actions, um, Terminator sends a rocket, blows up. The other Terminator falls from the concussion. He falls back, shoots another rocket. It hits the spaceship, which causes it to decloak. So now everyone's like, holy moly, the humans think that this is a new Terminator ship. The Terminators don't know what they're looking at. So both humans and Terminators are shooting at this ship. And it, flies away and crash lands. Obviously, the humans have weapons in 2031 that can blow a Terminator's head off. So that's good, and again, it makes sense, right? Um, Reese in the original Terminator movie didn't know if he could stop a Terminator in 1984 with the weapons that he had. So he knew. And again, they did show it in the Terminator movie in the future, where they had the laser type guns that would do a better job of against the Terminators. So here are these people, and they come out and they take out the Terminators. And this, again, this one guy just picks up two Terminators and smashes them together. So you say, okay, he's a super strong dude. He's got to be a robot, or a reprogrammed Terminator or something. So you think, well, I thought I knew where this was going. I was like, okay. So it turns out, and here's where it gets funky. The people that crash landed from that ship that was cloaked, getting plankton from the ocean, they're from the moon. Yes, they're from the moon. They're from Earth's moon. And I wasn't really sure if I like that. I don't know. I wasn't really sure. I mean, in this character kind of has that Linda Hamilton vibe, but she's not Sarah Connor. She's somebody else. They do name the characters, and we get into, so the freedom fighters take the people from the moon. They head toward their base. And then we do another cut to Florida, Bedford Falls, Florida, and there is a human in Bedford Falls. And Bedford Falls, Florida, is populated entirely by robots, by Terminators. And it's again, it's kind of weird. So this guy's down there taking pictures with his little mouth camera. but they've got like police officers and he talked about a flesh farm. So like, I don't know, they grow flesh, because Terminators are covered in flesh. Okay. And there are supposedly humans living in this town also. So humans and Terminators are kind of living in this town side by side, and this might be, this is where they take the flesh um, for their Terminators, right? I don't know. So it'll be interesting. This is an interesting piece here. So I'm curious to see where that goes. Um, so this group of freedom fighters, and again, we get into the comic book trope of having a kind of silly name. They're called Sarah's Slammers. I mean, would it kind of rings true, right? Because if Sarah Connor was the mother of John Connor, who taught those humans to fight back against the Terminators, and would a group, especially a group as good as these rebels apparently are, would they take a moniker like that? Yeah, probably. I don't know. To me, it seems, I don't know. It seems very comic book tropish to do that. Although it makes sense that there would be a group called Sarah Slammers in the future fighting the Terminator. So, at any rate, so we get the background on the moon. Um, apparently, all these people were born on the moon, 1998. Um, the United Nations constructed a permanent moon station, totally self-sufficient. And after Skynet went crazy and launched all the nuclear missiles, and this is their base, by the way. Sarah Slammer's base is in a Minuteman silo. Yeah, I could see that too. Um, but after that, they were on their own. They knew hopefully one day they could go back home, whether the humans beat the Terminators or for whatever reason they were hoping they can go back home. And they explain how they made short-term scavenge, like they were self-sufficient, so they every day they were like making these discoveries. So of course they built their ship with the cloaking device and all that stuff, and they found it necessary to make little journeys from the moon to home, to get certain staples, which they couldn't duplicate on the moon, and such as uncontaminated lower life forms for their greenhouse, like deep sea plankton matrices, certain soil nutrients, stuff like that. So it again makes sense. Um, and it all ties together. At the time, again, when you just read that one page, that one really weird page where you're into the story and then suddenly, there's this cloaked ship and they're getting plankton from the ocean and you're like, who are these people? And kind of jarring, kind of confusing, but they tie it all up here. And That's fine. Then we go back to Florida. Um, he's on the run from the Terminators, and it looks like they have him prisoner. He tries to set off uh, set off a rocket to get rid of the camera, but of course it is blown up. And that's it for that. So we're going to get back to that later on, right? In different issues and further issues. Um, there's a little tension between the Moon people and the rebels. And it looks like they write the names of their fallen on the walls. Okay. Just a lot of information being conveyed here. And it looks like the Moon people can supply them with some pretty good weapons. And this guy has like a tricorder. And again, we see this Conrad guy, and you're like, okay, he's a robot or something. There's something going on, and I guess this person figures it out. They have with their little tricorder thing, and here's the big reveal, end of the issue reveal that this guy Conrad is, I would say, a cyborg. It looks like he's mainly machine with a little bit of man, but we don't know. We'll find that out in issue 2. The dogs are barking. Nice cliffhanger ending here. Person who found out. Tell the other slammer, tell the boss, tell Leahy, the boss who looks like Linda Hamilton, to kill the entire lunar team now because they think, you know, he's a machine, right? So they think it's a trap. They think he's an infiltrator. They think um, he's there to kill them all, and the Moon team is there to kill them all. So again, like I said, nice issue. Oh, who did that pin up? I like that. And this kind of gives you the rundown. Yeah. So all in all, like I said, I enjoyed the first issue. I thought it was action packed. There were some weird moments. The Terminator baby, that was kind of weird. The Moon people is a really weird turn. I'm just not sure. I think the book might have benefited better from just having focusing on Sarah's Slammers. This team uh, of this team of humans that is trying to do to destroy as many Terminators as possible, to get rid of the flesh farm in Florida, just to bring some semblance of normalcy back. I think the book would have benefited from that, just focusing on that. But um, I didn't write it, and it'll be interesting to see down the road where this book goes, where the story goes, and does Fred Schiller write the entire series? Does, you know, indie books, especially now comics, writers, artists, um, they didn't stay on books too long, maybe 4 issues, 5 issues, 6 issues, maybe. Um, I don't have any numbers. 1988, I don't know how well this book sold. The fact that it went 17 issues, which is a year and a half. So it was what, 89, almost 90 when the book ended. And Now Comics also did other Terminator books too. Little one-offs, I think they did a 2-issue series. They did the 5 issues. That was Alex Ross's first published art. And we'll probably look at those as well at some point. But I definitely want to get through the 17 issues of the regular series, because I've never read it before, and just to see if it's any good. I mean, if the rest of the issues are as good as the first issue, yeah, I definitely recommend getting and reading the first issue. And if you're a Terminator fan, yeah, you can hunt these down, and I'm sure you can. I hunted them down, got most of them for $1 to $2 a piece. I think issue one I got off of eBay. It was packaged with, I think it was packaged with issue two, so I got issues 1 and 2 for $8 plus shipping. So that was a little much. You could probably find this book a lot cheaper than that, but that's it. That's it for this video. I rambled on long enough. We kept it nice and short, 25 minutes, as we talked about Now Comics, the Terminator series. And I hope you'll join us next week for the next video, where we read and we go through issue 2. And hopefully it's just as good as issue 1. And we're going to find out exactly who this Conrad person is. And, we're going to find out more about the lunar team and about the flesh farm and everything else. So until that time, stay cool, and as always, we'll see you in the funny pages.